Hey, welcome to today's episode of Pelicans Daily, brought to you by Fan Art. I'm so happy to have everybody here with us today. I am Chrissy Smith, your host. I'm very excited to talk about today's topic because it has to do with one of my favorite Pelicans players from the team last season, and that is, drumroll please, DeAndre Jordan, the veteran, who was named by the NBA as Teammate of the Year yesterday. Fantastic news for him, very well deserved. A big accomplishment to come from a player on the team when and it's a big accomplishment because the team wasn't successful last year. So to have somebody named that to come out of a 26 winning season is really a big accomplishment and a big testament to who DeAndre Jordan is. So the interesting thing about the award this year is that three of or three of the top four vote getters for Teammate of the Year, they've all worn a Pelicans uniform before. So that just tells you, man, we really bring in some great guys here to this program. And a lot of times they go elsewhere and they still are making an impact. That's huge. That's great. But DeAndre Jordan beat out Drew Holiday, who is a former Pelicans, by just 8 votes, actually. So it was very, very close. Jordan received 66 first place votes, and Holiday received 39. It was still a very, very close race. But DeAndre Jordan came in first, and then in second was Drew Holiday, and then third was Jeff Green from Houston. Garrett Temple was in fourth, who used to play for the Pelicans, and he's with Toronto now. And then you've got Pat Connaughton from Charlotte, who came in fifth place. And it's just a big testament to having a guy that can come in and make such a big impact without playing a whole ton of minutes. You know, he came in and he was really just there for those rookie players, like just such a important role model for the rookies that were on the team. And Jordan's been in the league for 17 years, so he's got so much experience. He only played in 12 games for the Pelicans last year, but even with that, he did average 4 points per game, but interestingly enough, 6 rebounds per game in there. When he came in, it was to give a breather to some of the guys, and sometimes it was just to show, like, hey, here's some footwork in this sense, or we're not doing well on rebounding, so I'm gonna step in and show you guys what I would recommend to the younger guys. Even Eve Missy, it was just his second year last year. So really, really happy for Jordan. Could not have happened to a better guy. Really glad that New Orleans is being on the spotlight for having a guy that would come here and just continue his great reputation of the kind of player and person that he is overall. You would see him all the time on the sideline with these younger guys. He would just have his arm around Herb Jones or Derek Queen, and he would be just giving them great advice, and he was always ready to go. All the games that I went to last year, you would always see him ready, warmed up. He's just excited in case he gets in the game. True professional. He would always have his shirt tucked into his pants, and then his pants were tucked into his socks. And he was just looked like he was having a good time out there. You could tell there's no pressure or stress on him because he's been around for so long, and he knew what his role really was on this Pelicans team last year, which was just be a good teammate and help coach these guys up and help them to learn what it's like to be the best version of yourself in the NBA. And that's something that Jordan has talked a lot about. It's that he is a Christian, that he uses his religion to fuel him. He's got Bible verses tattooed on his body. And so these are things that he actually went to a Christian school growing up in high school. His top game, he scored 37 points there. So he has really used his faith and his trust in God that everything's going to work out, and that he's where he's supposed to be because of that ultimate mission. And so him being in New Orleans, he treated that no differently. It didn't matter that the team was struggling all year. He still maintained that he was there for a reason, and that reason was to be there for the young guys and coach them up on the team. And so the young guys definitely spoke very highly of him. And right after he was named as Teammate of the Year, Derek Queen immediately took to Instagram and he posted the repost from the NBA of him being named the Teammate of the Year, and he put in the caption, "Big time DJ, well deserved, Unk. One of my biggest motivators. Thank you for guiding me through my rookie year. Appreciate you for everything. HOF for Hall of Fame." And I think that speaks so much when you've got a young guy that can look up to a veteran NBA player and have nothing but respect and great things, and to thank him for what he did during the year, because this is just the beginning of Derek Queen's NBA career. And I think for him to have someone like DeAndre Jordan there with him day in and day out to help coach him up and give him advice and tell him, don't hang your head, and here's where you can work on this. So I hope that this is something that's going to continue into the off season, and that Jordan's going to be there for him and Eve Missy. And it was just interesting because DeAndre Jordan was a veteran to everybody on the team. It didn't matter if it was Zion, who's been there for 7 years, or Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. He was the veteran guy on that team. When you play in the NBA for 17 years, you've clearly done something right to make it that far, because your skill set is going to deteriorate a bit as time goes on, just as, it's human nature. It's just like the nature of the beast, like that's going to happen. But if you're able to bring enough value that you're not bringing top playing minutes, but you're bringing something else to a team, that's how you stay in the league for this long. I mean, most people are not LeBron James, where they're still a starting player after this many seasons in the league. So to have DeAndre Jordan have such a compliment from all the players, but even these younger players on the team, it says a lot about who Jordan is overall. And I think it also does say a lot about these young guys on the team, in that they are able to appreciate a veteran instead of just go, oh, well, you played when the league was totally different. They don't look at him like that. They were able to respect and appreciate what was going on and the value that he was able to bring to this team. So very early on in that, this award was announced to DeAndre Jordan. So I am interested to see what other things are said by players online once this comes out a little bit more. But it is such a huge honor for the Pelicans and Jordan personally. This is also the first time a Pelicans player has won this award since Drew Holiday won it in 2019-2020, which just speaks also to Drew Holiday in that he won it all those years ago, and then he still is nominated for it this year, because just fantastic what kind of person and player Drew Holiday is too. Also to note, the in-game host for all of the Pelicans over the air doing the broadcast, and NBA champion Antonio Daniels, he took to social media immediately after this was announced, and he said no one deserved this award more than DJ. He was a perfect vet this year. When his number was called, he was ready. When it wasn't, he showed up with a voice of experience, encouragement, and accountability. Congratulations, DJ, much deserved, my brother. And I think that's a great way to describe him. A perfect vet this year. And when his number was called, he was ready. He went in those games and he was ready. And it wasn't many games. You've got an 82 game season. He played in 12 of them. And so that means 70 games. He didn't know if he was going to go in or not, but he was always ready. You would see him in timeouts, stretching, making sure he was staying limber. He would grab the rim, just make sure that he was loose. And in case they said, hey, Jordan, get in the game, he was going to be ready to do that. And so to have another NBA champion veteran talk about him that way on social media, once again, says so much about who DeAndre Jordan is overall. And when you look at really what his career has looked like, he's been very important to rookies along the way, but he's just had a fantastic career overall. He obviously has been in the league for a very long time. But then in the very beginning of his career, he started out with the Los Angeles Clippers, and that was all the way back in 2008. So he was there, and he was with that team for 10 years. So he really built a solid group of people who knew him back then. He was picked 35th overall in the NBA draft, and he did have some injuries, and so he was able to go ahead and push through and really become a starter there. And so in his rookie season, he was really, really good. He was doing a great job, and then it was later on that he went on to some other teams in the league. He did end up with the Mavericks in 2018, and then moved on to the Knicks. And then from that point, after he'd been in the league for over 10 years, he's had 1 year stints for the most part with everyone, except for from 2022 to 2025, he was with the Denver Nuggets, and that's where he was when the Pelicans picked him up there. So really, he's had such a solid career overall. Looking at him, he has averaged in all of his seasons total, he has averaged, let me double check to make sure I have 87% overall. So just phenomenal. I mean, he's been a really big time post player in there. And when you look at just how many games he's played, it's no wonder that he's been able to give advice to younger guys. And sometimes you see guys that they've been around for a while, but they just don't get that involved in who's around them and who's younger than them. But he has decided to. And one thing I think that is really going to be impactful for Derek Queen going forward into his career is from a defensive standpoint. That is something that you want to see Derek Queen just improve on. He's so young, so it's just something that he has to work on, as any rookie does, you know. And so DeAndre Jordan, he won, and it was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year 3 different times in his career. And that speaks so much to why it's important that he was able to just put his arm around Derek Queen and give him advice and give him reasons on, hey, you can work on this part. I mean, it was just really, really important because Derek Queen needs to get better in that way. So most recently when DeAndre Jordan was with the Nuggets, he was there in sort of that, he wasn't a starter, but he was in a similar capacity that he was with the Pelicans. But he did make 56 appearances when he was with them. He averaged about 4 points a game, you know, so his numbers were pretty consistent with what they are now. And so it's going to be interesting to look in the future and see what is going to be ahead for him. You know, at what point will he go ahead and retire? At what point will he re-sign with the Pelicans for this year because he's on a 1-year contract? Is that something that is a possibility for him? I think that as long as you're not paying him too much, I think that he's great to have around and keep around. One thing I think that would be very interesting is if he came in as maybe an assistant coaching role, because he does know this team already. And if he is looking ahead to saying, okay, maybe it's time for me to retire, then maybe he does step in as an assistant coach for the Pelicans next year and he's able to continue on with what he's doing. But he's played with just some of the best guys overall in the NBA. And so he does have so much experience in that sense. And it's like, you don't want to lose somebody like that for sure along the way. But I mean, he's played with the Kevin Durant's and Chris Paul's and all of just the best NBA players to come along. So maybe there is a world in which he does step in as an assistant coach with the Pelicans next year, since they do have some missing holes there with some of the personnel that have been let go once the season ended. I think he'd be a great assistant coach. I think it'd be a fantastic place for him. And I hope that whoever does come in as the head coach, whether it's Borrego or whoever is named the actual head coach, that maybe they say, Jordan, would you be a part of this coaching team? And then he can stay there with these rookies and whoever else comes in. And it's not just about the rookies, like I said, because he's a leader to everyone on the team, even the guys that have been there longer, just because he's by far got the most experience on that team. I mean, aside from DeAndre Jordan, you know, you did have DeAndre Ayton that was on there this year, but he wasn't really mentoring the guys the same way. And then other than that, I mean, really, you've got Zion Williamson, who's been there the second most on the team. So it would be really, I think, wise for the organization to try to keep Jordan around in one capacity or another. I mean, maybe it is back as a player, but maybe it's back and he's an assistant coach for the team, because maybe that's something that Jordan wants to get into. And this could be a perfect place for him to do that after what he's done this year and being named Teammate of the Year by the NBA on Wednesday. So very, very happy for him. This is going to be an interesting offseason for the Pelicans. As you all know, we're going to keep everything up to date here every single day, Monday through Friday. So make sure that you are getting those notifications, that you know when our video drops every single day, because we are going to be here consistently for you guys in the off season. And then once the season gets going, it's going to be a lot of fun keeping up with that. So you can find me on X at Sports Chrissy. Go ahead and like me there. Give me a follow there. You're welcome to message me with any questions that you have. I'm happy to get to them on this show here as well. But until next time, I hope that you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.